Good afternoon, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for Friday, March 20th, 2015, around 3:12 in the afternoon in Billerica, Massachusetts. Cloudy day out. Highs about freezing, but looks like we might get some snowflakes tonight. Some news to report. The NCAA men's basketball tournament's going on right now. A lot of close games. Kansas and Michigan State have made it to the round of 32 so far today. You could catch the actions on your local CBS station and TNT, True TV, and TBS. Hosting the NCAA men's basketball tournament is Ernie Johnson and Greg Gumbel and Matt Weiner. And that's about it on the news. My second video subject of the day is about my review of WWE WrestleMania 8 pay-per-view, which emanated from the Hoosier Dome, or the RCA Dome, in Indianapolis, Indiana, on April 5th, 1992. This pay-per-view had over 62,000 people in attendance. It sold out, but the WWE had to give about 15,000 free tickets away to achieve a sellout, because the ticket sales were kind of advancedly poor towards the end, so they had to give away 15,000 to make it a sellout. This WrestleMania was the first one to be under suspicion because the WWE steroid scandal was starting around this time. And they did not have too many celebrities. The only celebrities they had were country rock singer Reba McEntire, who was singing America the Beautiful, and they got Ray Combs, host of Family Feud at the time, as a guest ring announcer for the 8-man tag. And here's what happened at the pay-per-view for WrestleMania 8. Before the pay-per-view, there was a dark match. The dark match was the Bushwhackers. Whoa, yeah! They faced off against the Beverly Brothers, Bo and Blake, with Leapin' Lanny Powerful, genius, as their manager in their corner. The Bushwhackers won in about the 10-minute mark. They did a battery ram to Blake and pinned him 1, 2, 3. But this match did not air on the pay-per-view. It was just a comedy match with the Bushwhackers and the Beverly Brothers. And on to the pay-per-view card for WWE WrestleMania 8. Calling it was Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. This was the last WrestleMania that Gorilla Monsoon called. And this is kind of a sad time because Gorilla Monsoon called every WrestleMania up to this point. The first match on this paid-per-view card was the Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, with his manager Sensational Sherry, against El Matador, Tito Santana. Tito Santana became El Matador around the end of 1991. It was a bullfighting gimmick and stuff like that. It was, I really didn't like Tito Santana being a gimmick wrestler. He was always good as Tito Santana, but, he was basically a jobber to the stars at this point. But El Matador gave a solid match to HBK. This is an underrated match in my opinion. HBK won this match while grabbing onto the ropes after El Matador was going to slam him into the ring. 1, 2, 3. This was about a 10-minute match, which was pretty good. Also, they had an interview segment with Mean Gene Okerlund and the Legion of Doom. The Legion of Doom brought back their manager, Paul Ellering, and the Legion of Doom saying he was the missing piece of the puzzle for them to regain the WWE Tag Team Championship. This was a solid interview and stuff like that. And the next match was for The Undertaker, with Paul Bearer in his corner, facing against Jake the Snake Roberts. Undertaker turned face a few months earlier because he saved Miss Elizabeth from being attacked by a chair by Jake the Snake Roberts. And this was Jake the Snake Roberts' swain son in the WWE for about 3.5 years, because Jake the Snake gave his notice that he was leaving WWE to go to WCW. There was a lot of promises that Jake the Snake was made by Vince McMahon. He was supposed to be taking over the head booking position from Pat Patterson, who resigned around this time, but Vince McMahon did not promise his word to Jake, and he threatened a no-show on this card, but Jake did, and the Undertaker beat Jake in about like 7 minutes. He delivered a tombstone to him on the arena floor and rolled him up for the 1, 2, 3. Undertaker's now 2-0 at WrestleMania. The next match was for the Intercontinental Championship. It was Bret the Hitman Hart against the current champion, Rowdy Piper. In this match, Piper was playing the de facto heel, and he was using tactics and stuff, heel tactics and stuff, and Bret was, wrestling him pretty good. Bret, like, blade on this, and at the time, the WWE that was strictly prohibited. They did not allow blood, but it was accidentally that Bret bled himself, so he wasn't fined. And the match was a great match. The ending had Piper was going to use a foreign object and stuff, trying to get himself disqualified, but he just threw that out. And then Bret the Hitman Hart rolled him up for the 1, 2, 3. This match was a classic match for the Intercontinental title. Probably one of Piper's best matches of all time. Afterwards, Piper awards the belt to Bret the Hitman Hart, and they shake hands and they become friends. And this was the last match Rowdy Piper had in WWE for 2 years, and it was the last time he would be on WWE TV for a while. He made a cameo at SummerSlam '92, but he was basically off television until WrestleMania 10. The next match was an 8-man tag team match. It was the Mountie, the Nasty Boys, and Repo Man. The Nasty Boys and the Mountie had Jimmy Hart in their corner, facing off against Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Sergeant Slaughter, and the Big Boss Man, and Virgil. And the special guest ring announcer was the host of Family Feud at the time, Ray Combs. Ray Combs was like saying some jokes about the heels, which was pretty funny and stuff. This 8-man tag team match was nothing to write home about. It was just a quickie match. It was just time. It was a filler. It lasted about 6.5 minutes. Virgil pinned Nasty Boy Sags because Knobs accidentally hit him by mistake, and the match was over. But after the match, the Mountie attacked Sergeant Slaughter. This was setting up for Slaughter Mountie feud later on in the year. Then it was one of the co-main events. It was the WWE Championship match. It was Macho Man Randy Savage, the challenger, against the Nature Boy Ric Flair, with Mr. Perfect in his corner. And before the match, Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair was teasing about a centerfold picture of Miss Elizabeth, which, on paper you couldn't show. It was legal to show. They were hyping up a naked photo, but in reality they wouldn't be able to show it because they went up and thrown off the pay-per-view. And this match had a build-up because Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair had photos which was doctored of Miss Elizabeth having a previous relationship with Ric Flair, but they dumped. But all these photos were doctored. The real photos, Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. And this match was a very classic match. It was back and forth, back and forth. Miss Elizabeth came down halfway through the match, but a lot of the suits come down, trying to prevent her from going in the ring. One of the suits was a very young Shane McMahon, and the others were like Billy Red Lyons, I think, J.J. Dillon, Pat Patterson, Tony Garea, Black Jack Lanza, all those officials who would always come down and break up fights on television. No, they were trying to prevent Miss Elizabeth. Flair bled in this match, and he got fined for it, over $1,000 by Vince McMahon. The ending of this match had a Macho Man Randy Savage roll up Flair using his tights for the 1, 2, 3. This was an awesome match. It was one of the best matches for a title match in WrestleMania to date. After the match, Ric Flair snuck a kiss for Miss Elizabeth, and Miss Elizabeth slapped him, which was pretty good. This feud continued on throughout the spring and summer months. The next match was Rick the Model Martel against the Native American Tatanka. About 5-minute match. Tatanka beats Martel with the Papoose to go. The end of the trail, it's like kind of a Samoan drop, backdrop, which was pretty good. Tatanka's undefeated streak continues. The next match was for the WWE Tag Team Championship of the World. It was Money Incorporated, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, and Erlen R. Shyster, also known as ILS, with Jimmy the Mouth of the South hot in the corner. Jimmy the Mouth of the South used to be the Natural Disasters manager. Earthquake and Typhoon, the challengers, but Jimmy Hart took money from Ted DiBiase and ILS to move them into the #1 contender spot for the WWE Tag Team titles, which they won at a house show in Denver, Colorado against LOD early in the year. And the Natural Disasters turned face, and they faced off against each other. This was a typical match, back and forth. The Disasters were on the verge of winning the World Tag Team titles, and the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase was dragged by ILS, and like Jimmy the Mouth of the South Hot, they bail out on the match, get counted out of the ring, and this was a stupid way to end a match. It was bullshit. But the Natural Disasters won, but they didn't win the titles because a title cannot change hands with a count out on a disqualification. So this was a stupid ending. The next match was Owen Hart, the Rocket, against Skinner, who was Steve Curran playing a Florida Everglade gimmick, which was pretty awful and stuff. This match only lasted about 80 seconds. Owen Hart won with a drop kick with a 1, 2, 3. It was filler time. That was just filler. It didn't need to be on the pay-per-view. There was one match that was scheduled to be on the pay-per-view. It was the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, against the Berserker with Mr. Fuji as his manager. But due to time restraints, this match was removed from the pay-per-view card. The Berserker was a Viking character in the WWE around 1991 through 1993. He's famous for saying, "Husk, husk, 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 husk." And his favorite move, the Berserker, was throwing opponents over the top rope, and the opponents got counted out. And this was just a gimmick that didn't go anywhere. So no loss there. And the main event was the double main event. It was Sid Justice with his manager, Dr. Harvey Whippleman, against Hulk Hogan, the Immortal One. And the hype of this match, that Sid Justice turned his back on Hulk Hogan during a tag team match on Saturday night's main event against The Undertaker and Ric Flair, and then Sid Justice goes psycho and stuff, destroying the barber shop, and then he hires Harvey Whippleman as manager, and Harvey Whippleman becomes Dr. Harvey Whippleman every time Sid does power bombs during this time to preliminary wrestlers. Dr. Harvey Whippleman would check them out, and then they would motion the stretcher to come out, and then Sid would push the preliminary wrestlers out of the stretchers. It was just a gimmick for this match. And also, this was supposedly to be Hogan's last match because he was taking some time off because it was about the steroids trial and stuff like that. The WWE wanted him to go away and stuff, but actually, he was signed to do a movie, Mr. Nanny, that he was filming it during the summer of 1992. And this typical Hogan main event match with Sid Justice, it was on a decent match and stuff. Sid Justice kicked out of the leg drop, 1, 2. He wasn't supposed to do that. I think the ending was supposed to be that Papa Shango was supposed to come in while Hogan was trying to get the 1, 2, 3. But I think Sid showed that. Plus, could have been the cue that Papa Shango missed. And Papa Shango did come in, and him and Sid Justice, attacked Hulk Hogan. But then the Ultimate Warrior's music hit, and then it was the Ultimate Warrior, who has not been seen in the WWE since SummerSlam 1991, comes in and rescues Hogan from Sid and Papa Shango. And the crowd goes wild and stuff and that. And it was a way to end the show, which was, the finish of this main event stunk. Was kind of the worst main event Hulk Hogan was in. And also I heard something afterwards that Sid actually flunked the drug test and he kicked out because he wanted to get himself fired from the WWE so he could play softball during the summer of 1992 to avoid wrestling the Ultimate Warrior on house shows, which they advertised throughout the country during a couple weeks after WrestleMania 8. But a lot of people, when they saw the Ultimate Warrior come back, they thought it was a different Warrior because he had a different hairstyle, and people were speculating that the original Ultimate Warrior around this time passed away, and the replacement Warrior looked like the Texas Tornado Kerry Von Erich. But those rumors were not to be true. It was always the same Ultimate Warrior, Jim Hellwig. He got a different hairstyle and stuff, and this WrestleMania 8 was, I would give this maybe a 6, in my opinion. A little bit of above average. The Flair Savage match was awesome. Also the Piper, Bret Hart match for the Intercontinental title was awesome. Also a solid opening match with Tito Santana, El Matador, and Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. I wish if like El Matador was still in his prime with Tito Santana and Shawn Michaels, they could have had an awesome feud if the heel turn occurred a few years earlier, because Tito, El Matador, still was a great worker. The rest of the card was... But at least there was no celebrities, and this WrestleMania was a little bit different because they tend to consolidate some of the matches. They didn't have 14 matches. They only had 9. It was scheduled to have 10, but the 10th one with the Berserker and the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith was cut due to time restrictions, which was no loss, but the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith and the Berserker lost out on a payday for being on WrestleMania. And this is kind of a must-see WrestleMania if you want to see a couple of great matches, but avoid the other ones at all cost. And tomorrow, I'm going to review WrestleMania 9 from Las Vegas, Nevada at Caesars Palace. They said the biggest world's toga party, but this WrestleMania 9, what I'm going to review tomorrow, it is horrendous. It's awful. There's nothing fun about this except the ending. I much rather see something else, like Julie Broughton and Heidi Lee Pratt's leg contest in WrestleMania 9. Well, I'll be back at the third and final video blog of the night, which will be about the person I profile about legendary Montreal Canadiens goaltender, the late great Jacques Plante, the first NHL goaltender to wear a mask during a game. Have a good night, day, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Bye.